You guys, welcome back to Addictive Personalities. I want to start, of course, with an affirmation. One that I definitely need to hear and tell myself is that you're not behind. You're not too late. And no matter what age you are, I'm middle aged at this point, and it feels like I'm late, but I'm not. Many of the greats have failed several times and started something amazing in their late 40s, 50s, 60s. Like it could literally be tomorrow that everything changes. I just have to give myself grace, and I want to give you grace, and I want you to give yourself grace that everything is in the right timing. So with that, in the last couple of episodes, I shared how I got here. And what my life looked like before I found my purpose and what happened after I made the decision to change. It was hard for me to kind of condense that. Of course, I think a lot of us have a tendency to be robust in the way that we explain things, because in the midst of traumatic lifestyles and experiences, there's just so much detail we want to talk about, right? So it was hard for me to condense that into small episode time frames. But I did talk about how confusing it was, and how I thought once I stopped, everything would just fall into place. But it didn't, and it won't. And it felt like and feels like still today. Okay, now what? What do I do? How do I do it? Like, how do I be a normal person? How do I plan my life? How do I build something? How do I even know what I want? Because for so long I wasn't living like that. I was in survival mode, day by day, reacting, not planning, not thinking about the future, just surviving, just getting through. And then all of a sudden, when you decide to stop, you're expected to just function, have a job, build a career, take care of responsibilities, pay bills, be a parent, be present, be stable. And no one really teaches you how to do that. When you do this on your own, of course, there are other ways that people find recovery or decide to get clean, right? Right now, I'm talking about those of us who don't follow that path, right? We just know that we're done and we stop, right? But internally, it doesn't just switch. There's still fear, there's still doubt, there's still this feeling of, I don't know if I'm good enough for this. I've felt that and still feel that a lot. I didn't actually state my clean date in the last episode. My actual clean date is July 3rd, 2018. And so I'm going on 8 years. And I do think that that is important, but at the same time, it's not necessarily about a battle between using or not using. It's just the length of time it's taking me to catch up, in a sense. So if I look at it, and I challenge you to look at it from the same perspective. If, depending on how long you've used or you did use, like if I look at it from an aerial view, it's like, okay, well, I'm only 8 years after a lot of years of using, trying to get back on track. So maybe I should go a little easy on myself. I just have this battle in my brain, and I'm sure a lot of you understand what that is. But after I stopped using, even after things started to change externally, right? Internally, I still felt behind. I still feel behind. I am my own worst enemy. Like everyone else knows something I don't. Like I am just figuring it out as I go. And I say that in present tense because it is literally still happening today. So if you're feeling like that, you're not alone. And on the outside, everything may look really great. You know, I'm very blessed. I recognize that. But it is still hard because I have demons in my mind, you know? So I think that this is something a lot of people experience and we don't really talk about it because it's embarrassing. It's shameful. It's like, come on, it's not that hard. That's how we think people perceive it, right? But these are also people that have never experienced what we've experienced. Because from the outside, it can look like you're doing better, but inside, you're still trying to catch up to a version of life you were never prepared for, a version of life that you were not built for. And that's where I started realizing something, that stopping isn't the hardest part. It's living after that. Living after that, being a parent after that, being responsible after that, loving yourself after that. How? How? But there's another side to that. Because for so long, we weren't feeling anything. I mean, we were feeling things, right? But we were numbing everything, avoiding everything, everything that really mattered. Everything that the whole reason why we were self-medicating was to avoid a reality, emotions that are painful. And so when you stop, you don't just magically feel better, you feel everything. And that can be overwhelming. But at the same time, that's where healing starts, because for the first time, you're actually present with yourself. And that is scary shit. And for me, that looks like learning how to sit with myself, learning how to feel things without immediately trying to escape them, learning my patterns, my triggers, my thoughts. And I'm not saying that was easy. I'm actually still saying it is very difficult. It was not easy. There are days where my mental health felt all over the place and still feels all over the place. Anxiety, depression, overthinking, imposter syndrome. And again, like I said, I still deal with that. But the difference is I'm not running from it anymore. That's the difference. Like, I am facing it head on, and that changes everything, because when you're using, you don't actually get the chance to heal. You pause everything, you delay it. For many people, the age that you start using, that's the age that you stagnate. That's the age that you stay. And in a way, for me, I was on a spiritual journey, let's just say. Even when I was using, I did very much experience the dark and the light several times. I know God had his hand on me. I have stories I would love to tell about miracles that I witnessed myself, and very scary situations that are hard to explain with scientific reasoning or logic, because to me it was divine, right? Out of this world. But when you stop using, everything you avoided is still there. But now we have the opportunity to face it. And I think that's the part that people don't talk enough about. Getting clean isn't just about stopping, okay? Uh, it's about rebuilding your relationship with yourself, and your mental health is a huge part of that. For me, I had to learn how to take care of myself in ways I never had before. And actually, I never even believed I was worthy of, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. And I'm still learning that, like I said. But I can honestly say that living life clean has given me the ability to heal. Not perfectly, not all at once, but in a real way. And if you're in it right now, or even if you're out of it and still struggling mentally, that doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. That actually makes perfect sense. I'm right there with you. And this is going to be a lifelong journey. right? I'm actually really excited about it because as I look back, even 4 years ago, I was a much different person. I was clean. I wasn't using meth, but I hadn't grown into myself. I'm still growing into myself. This includes this podcast. This is part of me wanting to grow and wanting to help encourage you to grow. Like, it is exciting and it is painful and it's uncomfortable, and it requires prayer and it requires discipline and it requires humility and behavior changing and self-awareness. Those things are hard. There are some people who are 50, 60, 70, who never even think about how they affect the world around them, and they've never even done drugs. So, you know, what I'm trying to say is that be excited for actually feeling. Be excited for turning yourself into a new version of yourself. Flipping the page, closing the book, opening up a new book, finding yourself, finding your value. That is really where the work happens. And I know that it is going to be uncomfortable. I know, because it's still uncomfortable for me today. But it's also where things start to change. So if you're in that space where things feel messy or heavy or confusing, you're not broken. You're not broken. Bent? Yeah. Dinged up? Sure. We all have our wounds, right? But you're now in the process of healing. Even if you haven't completely made that decision to quit, the fact that you're thinking about it means you do know that there's a reason to live differently. That does mean you have self-worth, right? I mean, think about it. If you didn't love yourself, why would you want something different if you're still using today? So keep that in your bonnet. And this process, it will not look, and it will never look the same for everyone. So don't let anybody tell you how it's going to get done. You know how it's going to get done? Your will, your motivation, your desire to stop. And for those of you that have stopped, you know what your motivation is going to be? The fact that you are worthy, you have a purpose, you survived this many days and that much trauma to get here for a reason. If you have kids, they're your reason. Like, yes, we have to think outside of ourselves, but we also have to repair ourselves. So you have to figure out what works for you, because there is no one way to do this. And that takes time and experience. So I challenge you to give yourself that. I'm a little emotional as I'm saying these things because this is something that I'm struggling with to this day. And in the next few episodes, I want to start breaking down some of the things that we've been told about addiction, um, the rules, the expectations, the stigma, the assumption that when I say, I did meth for 20 something years, they're expecting to see someone else. People who don't know, and they just go off of what they see on the streets or what they see on TV. They don't know that a lot of us were actually semi to fully functioning addicts, living a double life, just trying to medicate, just trying to cope. They didn't, they're going to look at us and say, oh, well, they were probably stealing, robbing, whatever, knocked out in a hole somewhere with pox on their face and track marks on their arms. Like, what the hell do they know? Right. And I wanted to also share that recently I believe that this very fact about myself was the reason why I lost my job. Now, that was not documented anywhere, or it can't be proven, but this is something that I now have to learn how to navigate myself. And honestly, if I can't be honest about my success, my ability to thrive in such adversity and talk about it, if I'm not able to talk about it, I don't know that I want to work there. Right. So these are things that we really have to think about. Um, because I don't think it's as simple as we've been taught. Like, we need to really question what's actually true. So if you're here with me now, stay with me because we're just getting into it. I just wanted to share how I was doing now after 7.5 years clean from my drug of choice. Does it mean that I'm not addicted to anything? Hell no. I am still addicted to cigarettes, to TV, to shopping, to collecting, like just because maybe some people, their poison is sugar or alcohol, socially, or gaming. Are they really that different? Workaholics, are they really that different? What are they trying to avoid? It all stems from avoidance of something else. And the only thing that makes addiction a problem is when you start to erode the relationships you have and you are hiding it or in denial, or you are, it's basically taking control over your life. That's where addiction gets dangerous. But I want to talk about all those things. So in the next episodes, we're going to 100% go through, what we've been taught ever since we were kids. Drugs are bad. What it means when you start late in life. What trauma was that associated with? Was there a trauma? Is there really such thing as an addictive personality? Or is there such thing as the human need to not feel pain? How to navigate around normies, quote unquote. Does it mean that if we're not in a recovery program, we're not going to meetings every day? Does that mean we're not real addicts, or that we were never really on drugs, or that we're really not seeking help, right? Like, does it mean that we need to make sure that we're seeing a therapist? Those types of questions are really important to me. And I want to continue to delve into this subject, and I want to hear from you. I really do. You can follow Addictive Personalities on Instagram. It's at Addictive Personalities Podcast, all one word. And it's nothing special, but if you follow that, I would love to actually interact with you if you would like to be a guest or talk about something in particular. Because, again, I am still trying to figure it out. Today, Bethany is a much better Bethany than even 3 year ago Bethany. And even though I've struggled, there are very many struggles that I've had in the last 7.5 years. Not once did I think about using, but I do also want to say that I understand that this podcast can be triggering for some of you. And I should have put warnings in there. I talked about very serious things, and I've had feedback that like the talking about this can be triggering. So I apologize, and it's okay if you want to step away and come back later, but I think it's important to talk about what triggers you and understand what your body's doing and redirect your body and your mind. I don't get triggered to use, but I get triggered in other ways to start feeling crap about myself and beating myself up, and that's not good. Right? Like, that is what used to make me use drugs, was feeling like shit about myself. Now I just feel like shit about myself, and I've learned kind of how to redirect my thinking. And I just want to share that with you guys. So until next time, stick with me. It's going to continue to explore all of the facets of what addictive personalities are, and it's not going to just stay in the realm of drugs. It's going to stay in the realm of mental health, and I want to build a community of people who don't follow the rules of recovery, but want to follow the rules of healing. Thanks for listening. This is Addictive Personalities.